introduce you to Gary Kay, Chief Content Officer for Tech 50 Plus. I'm going to hand him back the... I just cut my finger. I don't think technology can help with that. So anyway, he has a very, very cool session that he developed for you guys, and it's When Will They Ever Learn? Making Products for the 50 Plus Market. Dying to hear what you have to say. Thanks.
Thanks. Thanks, Jim. So good afternoon. So we're going to talk a little bit about products, what works and what doesn't for the 50 plus market. But I think the first thing that's important is to get a sense as to what the 50 plus market really is. This is not advancing. Somebody get me back to the first slide here, please. There we go. So I'd like you to meet Frida and Jack. Frida, that's her Facebook photo. Frida posts on Facebook. She emails, she texts, she has a smartphone, she has a tablet, and she still drives. Frida, bless her, is 96 years old. Jack, you won't see a picture of Jack because Jack's not on Facebook. Jack doesn't have a computer. Jack doesn't have a tablet. Jack doesn't have a smartphone. And Jack is still pissed off because they're not delivering the phone book to him anymore. Jack is 64. So what does that say about age? It says all right, guys, we're not going anywhere here. 50 plus market is not a snapshot. It's a continuum, and it's based on age, of course, but also aptitude, attitude, and experience. So you've been hearing all day long folks saying over and over again, stop looking at us as just old people, because there are old people who know what they're doing, there are old people who don't, just like any other large group. So we're going to talk about products. First thing that happens when you get a product, right, is it comes in a package, right? Show of hands. Have any of you cut your fingers trying to open up a piece of hard bubble packaging, right, or had to use a pair of shears? How stupid is that? How much of a challenge should it be to open up a package? There's a company here on the floor called Ventev. They make computer accessories. They put it in a box. You pop the bottom off the box. The cable comes out. You can put the bottom back on and use it to store doodads, whatever doodads may be. So the second thing that goes along with the product is the manual. All right. How many of you have come across manuals you couldn't read? Oh. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the manuals are trying to save paper or something. I've reached the point where there are manuals where even with the magnifying glass, I have to call one of my kids in to help me get through it. How silly is that? And once you can read them, how many of you can understand them? How many of these manuals are written by people who did not have English as a first, second, or perhaps third language? And one of the nice developments, though, is that a lot of the products are now coming with a very small sort of quick start guide, and then they'll take you to an online manual. And again, here's a use case issue. Having an online manual, if I'm at my desk, is just fine. But if I'm using a camera out in the field, having an online manual is not going to be a big help. All right, so Next, we have the whole issue of performance, right? Once you get this thing out of the box, once you get it to the point where you've gone through the instructions, is it doing what it's supposed to do? What is the so-called out-of-box experience? Is it a pleasure, or is there a frustration factor? You've just gone out and you've paid money for this thing. Why is it challenging you? And if it does give you grief, how many of you have not been able to get a hold of a human being for customer support? I mean, you deal with companies, I'll name some names. Apple just wants you to go into their retail store if you have an issue, because they're not going to help you on the phone. Google, pretty much the same thing. I mean, anybody try getting a human being at Google? Any successes on that? No, they send you a tech forum. They go, put your question into the tech forum, and we're going to try and find your answer. Again, quick show of hands. Anybody get the right answer from a tech forum? Oh, yeah. So far, this industry ain't doing so well, is it? All right. Getting stuff connected. All right. I did a piece a couple of years ago for Huffington Post called "Why Doesn't This Stuff Work Right?" When I did it for the Tech 50 website, it was called "Why Doesn't This Shit Work Right?" And I had some help from a friend of mine who was at that point the chief technology officer for Intel, and he said, well, you know what? They all have standards. They're all supposed to work within the standards, but the standards are a little wiggly. So it's like, when is a standard not a standard? Well, if it doesn't work right together. And one of the biggest things that I've found is frustrations in doing audio devices. All right. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay, mesh networks. Makes you a little crazy. I got to read something to you, because this is sort of fun in a masochistic kind of way. I got a device thing up there called the Libratone Loop, and I was having trouble getting it going. So they sent me these directions. They said, press and hold the 3 buttons, Play Direct, AirPlay, and the logo button, simultaneously, approximately 3 seconds, until the status indicator pulses yellow. Then release the buttons. After approximately 10 seconds of yellow pulsing, the status indicator changes to white breathing, and your loop is now factory reset and switches automatically to set up Play Direct mode. It's in the closet now. One of the interesting things, computers really weren't designed to play music, and yet increasingly our computers are the center of our music systems, because our files are all computer files, whether it's MP3 or now with high-res audio, FLAC or DD or whatever acronym you want to use. So you get your choice of getting the stuff out of the computer either through a headphone jack or through USB. A company called Audio Engine makes some great products that include digital audio converters, or DACs. And I ran into a problem with one of them, and they sent me some instructions. It started off by saying, please try restarting your computer to see if that helps. Number 2, please make sure the USB and audio cable connections to and from the D1 are complete and verify those cables are in working order. Number 3, try removing all of the USB devices temporarily from your computer to see how this affects the D1 playback. 10 different troubleshooting instructions. It would have taken me 2 days to do this had it worked right. 2 days. It's in the drawer. One of the exceptions, it's a lovely exception. How many of you guys have tried these whole house music systems? Right? The first really good system out there was Sonos. And that's all that they decided to do. And they made it work right. Although I've been able to crash Sonos too. So, I mean, I'll give them that. But for the most part, you set it up, it runs, and it proves to me that you actually can do this stuff correctly. So it's real nice. There are great products out there, though. We've been hearing a lot today about the PERS, Personal Emergency Response Devices. This one is called the V-Alert, A-L-R-T, from a company called VSN. In the back, you probably can't see it because it's no bigger than like a quarter-size button. You push the button, it works with your smartphone. It sends a message to 3 people who you've designated, basically saying something like, you know, Dad's in trouble, check on him, and it gives you your location. But it is elegant, and it is made so that you can put it on a pendant, wear it on your wrist, and so on. Now, is Rob around with his bike? Come on. So we talk about companies all trying to raise the bar. I'm a big fan of e-bikes for the 50-plus audience because, frankly, if you're an avid bike rider, an e-bike can extend your biking experience by 10, 20, or 30 years because you don't have to work as hard and they're a lot of fun. So while everybody else is raising the bar, the e-bike guys are getting smart. They made these electric assist bikes, and then for us older folks, they've lowered the bar so that you can actually just stand and get over rather than trying to raise your leg like a dog approaching a fire hydrant. You know, this is the, Rob is with Curry Technologies, and this is their eFlow Nitro. Now, these things ain't cheap. This is $4,000. But if you're a real avid biker and you're tired of doing the hills, I'll go out for hours and hours and hours on my e-bike, and it's just been a real blessing for me. We talk a little bit about universal design, about making devices that everybody can use, or in some cases making devices that nobody can use. One of the companies that's out there that has some examples of both, Sony. Sony makes a great little tablet called the Xperia Z2. It's waterproof. In order to make it waterproof, they had to seal all of the ports all the way around. And they decided that in order to make it look good, they would make the little port covers exactly the same black material as the rest of the edging. Do you know how tough it is to find black against black? Black absorbs all light. It took me 20 minutes to find the charging port to get the cover off. Well, that's just silly. And incidentally, I sat down with a former chair of Sony North America. There's probably a reason he's the former chair. He couldn't find it either. But you know, Sony has learned. This is the Sony RX 100. It's one of the best point-and-shoot cameras on the market. They brought it out a couple of years ago, and now they have added to that an electronic viewfinder. Pops up so you can hold it up to your eye with a diopter. So those of us who wear glasses can adjust for our crummy eyesight, and it has a swivel screen so you don't have to worry about light reflection. Apple, who I have a love-hate relationship with, as do a lot of other people, did a really wonderful job. For years, they had accessibility features. They never told anybody about them because they didn't want to be seen as marketing to older folks. It's like, yeah, we have accessibility features. Go find them. This year, with the iPhone 6 Plus, they got smart. They came out with a big screen, but they also came out with a slider so you can adjust the amount of zoom on the screen, and it has made it much, much easier to use. Other companies, incidentally, are getting a lot better on this score. I saw a brand new phone from Asus this morning, the Zen Phone 2, that comes with nice big buttons, nice big icons. David Ennis was here a little earlier. His company has learned. They started off with the Jitterbug, which was a simple feature phone for the big buttons, and now as their market has progressed more and more towards smartphones, they too have moved into the smartphone market. I don't know where that came from, but it's a nice picture. One of the other things that happens is that third parties have come along and found workarounds for products and problems that other folks have presented. How many of you found it a real pain to type on a virtual keyboard? Especially on a smartphone. I don't know, my fingers are bigger than a lot of those keys are. And I grew up touch typing, and it's a disaster. A couple of products that have found their way around it. Brookstone and other folks have a projection keyboard that uses a laser and it'll flash the keyboard on a flat surface. A company called Touchfire has one that will go on your iPad, so you get a tactical feedback, and you have a nice real keyboard typing surface. The bottom line is that these companies are getting better. I mean, I've been covering consumer electronics for us 50-plussers for about 5 years now, and they are getting better, they are learning, but they're nowhere near where they need to be. And it's going to be us. It's going to be us making demands on customer service, on the guys in Best Buy who talk down to us, who are going to change this if it's really going to be worthwhile for all of us. Remember, we haven't lost our passion for technology. We've lost some of our eyesight, some of our manual dexterity, and our patience for stuff that doesn't work right. Thank you.